بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد خلقناكم ثم صورناكم ثم قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected listeners, as we are continuing on our series of understanding the soul of the human being, where we came from, what position we're living in right now, and where will the human being eventually end up, we understand a couple of things from the series that we have had so far, the sessions that we have had so far. We understand and we learn that the history of human beings, it goes far behind and far beyond this earth. It goes much back before the time that we spent in this earth. The history of the human soul, it goes way before that. And we will spend some time in this dunya, and the future of this human soul, which inshallah we will be covering as well. Where is the future of the human soul headed? The future of the human soul, it's either going to be headed towards Jannah, which lasts in eternity, or the human soul will head towards the hellfire, which is also going to be in eternity. So if you were to imagine a timeline, and imagine a calendar for the human life and for the human soul, you started thousands, millions of years before you were in this earth. And then the period that we are in this earth, very, very short, 60 to 100 years. Very, very little. And then on the other side, what do you have? You have eternity. So there's no end. For this side, it keeps on going all the way. There's no stop to it. And the amazing thing is, brothers and sisters, is that as human beings, what do we tend to do? We are focused only on the present. We're only focused on hayatul dunya. Our minds only go to this very, very short period. Whereas if we were to look historically, there was much before this and there's going to be much coming after this. And we had mentioned the narrations that prove and show how this human soul, it has been in existence even before we came to this earth. Before we were even formed in this dunya, the souls were already existing on the back of Adam alayhi salam. And some of the mufassirin, they have mentioned a few narrations that also prove this point. Imam Haddad rahimahullah, he has also mentioned a few of these riwayat, which indicate that the souls were not only existing at that time, but from those moments, Allah gave a special virtue and a special honor specifically to this ummah, the ummah of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And through the blessings of the Prophet alayhi salam, every person who is a part of this ummah, Allah has already given you a special distinction, that you are from the ummah of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So I will mention two of the narrations. The first narration, it mentions that when these souls were on the back of Adam alayhi salam, Adam alayhi salam, he heard the sound of tasbih. So from his back, you had all of these souls. From these souls, you could hear that one of them is making the glorification and the praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who was this soul? What was this beautiful, mubarak and blessed soul which was taking the name of Allah in the realm of souls, way before human beings were created? It was the soul of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it is mentioned that when Hawa alayha salam, when she was expecting her child, the sound of this tasbih, it came to Hawa alayhi salam. And when Sheeth alayhi salam, their son, was born, the nur from the sound of this tasbih, it was transferred to Shif alayhi salam. And every child that was born from their progeny, generation after generation after generation, this nur carried on within their lineage all the way until the time that the Prophet ﷺ was born. So this silsila, this chain, it had continued from that time. And the second narration which is mentioned about this is what Musa ﷺ mentioned. So Musa ﷺ, as we know, he was Kalimullah. He was the one who spoke with Allah. He was the one who used to conversate. And he would speak a lot and ask questions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about this dunya, about the next world, about where we came from. So it is mentioned that once they were having a conversation, he said, Ya Rabbi hal khalaqta khalqan akrama alayka minni. So he says, Oh Allah, tell me, you have spoken with me, you have selected me, and you have chosen me with so many different things in this dunya. Right? You've given me the Torah, you have spoken with me, you have shown me so many of your miracles. I just want to know this one thing. Is there anyone from your creation that you have more closeness to them and more of a bond and relationship with them than the relationship and bond that I have with you? Right? You've given me so much. And so many secrets you've revealed to me. So he's probably thinking to himself, I don't think there's anyone else out there that has this relationship. So he asked the question, he says, Ya Allah, is there anyone? Is there any type of creation that has a closer bond with you? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Musa alayhi salam, Ya Musa, أَمَا عَلِمْتَ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا أَكْرَمَ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ جَمِيعِ خَلْقِي. He said, don't you know, O Musa, there is a creation of mine, there is a man from my creation, his name is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now keep in mind, Musa alayhi salam was several years, thousands of years before Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But Allah is informing him about the Prophet alayhi salam. Why? Because his soul was already in existence. The soul is what he is talking about. So he says, وَإِنِّي نَظَرْتُ فِي قُلُوبِ عِبَادِي. He says, I looked into the hearts of my servants, and I did not see any soul, any heart, which was more pure, more humble, and submissive than this heart. And he continues on, Musa alayhi salam, he was Kalimullah. So he would speak a lot. He wasn't satisfied that, Ya Allah, this is our conversation and let's end it now. He wanted to continuously dialogue and speak as much as he can. So he goes on to the next thing. And he says, Oh Allah, is there any ummah which is in existence? Is there any such ummah that is out there that is more honorable and more beloved to you than my ummah? ظَلَّلْتَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْغَمَامِ وَأَنزَلْتَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَنَّ وَالسَّلْوَى. You've shaded them with the clouds, right? The Bani Israel, Allah used to shade them with the clouds. Allah gave them the man and salwa, special food that would descend from the heavens for them. So he said, my ummah looks like it's been favored so much. You've granted them so many things. He said, Ya Allah, is there any other ummah that you have favored and you love them more? فَقَالَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya Musa, أَمَا عَلِمْتَ. O Musa, do you not know that indeed the virtue of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam upon all of the other nations, it is like my virtue and my status upon the rest of my creation. Allahu Akbar. Just like how Allah is greater than all of the creation, this ummah, Allah has granted it virtue over all other nations. Subhanallah. All of this took place when? Before we were even created. And subhanallah, brothers and sisters, the takeaway that we can get from this is that we have been granted this virtue from all the souls that were on the back of Adam alayhi salam. From all the nations, thousands of people that have ever been created and will be created. Allah preferred this ummah through Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What does that mean we have to do? Allah gave us virtue through Him. Love Him, respect Him, follow Him, learn about Him. Make Him the priority of our lives. Don't follow anybody else. Don't have love for anyone else more than you have love for the Prophet ﷺ. His sunnah should be more beloved than anything else. Because his sunnah did what? It granted us virtue over every other nation which is out there. So the story continues on. Musa alayhi salam says, Ya Rabbi, afa arahum? Wow, this nation is amazing. They're greater than my nation. And Allah loves them so much. Ya Allah, can I see them? You've blessed this nation so much. I want to look at them. I want to see what they look like. Musa alayhi salam, what nation is he talking about? He's talking about us. He wanted to see us. He loved this ummah so much. He was so amazed. He was so astonished. He was so taken aback about the virtues of this ummah. He said, I want to see these guys. I want to see what they look like. This ummah is so special. Ya Allah, you're telling me all these virtues. I want to take a look at them. I want to glance upon them. And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He said, لَن تَرَاهُمْ. You're not going to be able to see them. However, if you wish to hear them, I will allow you to hear them. But right now you can't see them. So Musa alayhi salam, he says, I wish that I could see them. I would like that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ummata Muhammad. Allah made this announcement and He made this call. O ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the entire ummah, they called out in response, in unison, in one voice. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Oh Allah, we are here and we listen to you and we hear you. They gave this reply when? وَهُمْ فِي أَصْلَابِ آبَائِهِمْ. They were still in the realm of souls. They were still not created in the bodily form. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave the salams to this ummah. Salati wa salami alaykum. And He continues, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this message. إِنِّي قَدْ غَفَرْتُ لَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تَسْتَغْفِرُونِي. I have forgiven you, O ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even before you have sought forgiveness from me. When we were souls, you didn't commit any sins. When we were souls, we never asked Allah for forgiveness. We never even committed sins to ask for forgiveness. Allah loved this ummah so much that at that time He said, O ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, my forgiveness is there for you even before you have sought forgiveness from me. And He continues on, فَمَنْ لَقِيَنِي مِنْكُمْ. Whoever from amongst you, O ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whoever meets me, testifying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, I will forgive all of their sins. So like this, brothers and sisters, we can see that from the realm of souls, Allah Azza wa Jal, He understood who we are. We spoke, we talked, we had, Musa alayhi salam, we had prophets who wanted to see us, who wanted to dialogue with us. And in the other narrations, it is even mentioned, when Musa alayhi salam heard the virtues of this ummah, he said, look, my ummah has not been granted these virtues. My ummah is of a lesser category than this ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he actually asked, Ya Allah, is it possible that I can also be part of this ummah? Right? I'm the leader of the Bani Israel, but I'm so amazed at the virtues of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I wish to be part of this ummah. Like this, brothers and sisters, we understand every soul, it has had a past. And moving on and carrying on, we learn there are a few phases that the soul goes through while it's in this very short period within this dunya. And in this dunya, the Prophet ﷺ, he always gave preference to the souls and the hearts of people. He never looked at a person's social standing. He never looked at how beautiful a person looked physically. He never looked how much money a person had in their pockets. The Prophet ﷺ always judged based on the heart and the soul of individuals. And I'll end off with one example of this in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One particular Sahabi radiallahu anhu, a lot of people don't know about him. They've not heard his name. They don't know his story. This was a man, his name was Julaybib radiallahu anhu. Julaybib. Amazing, interesting name that many of us probably never heard before. So Julaybib, this is a name in the Arabic language. It's in the diminutive form, indicating this was a very, very small guy. And it is mentioned about him that كَانَ فِي وَجْهِهِ دَمَامَةٌ, that in his face, in his physical appearance, there was something in his physical appearance. He wasn't the most handsome of men. So he was like, his physical features were not so appealing. People thought he was ugly. And subhanallah, it is mentioned that Julaybib, in the time before the Prophet ﷺ came, everybody stayed away from Julaybib. And in some narrations it's mentioned he even had some, physical deformities. So people used to ridicule him. People used to make fun of him. Nobody wanted to befriend him and have a relationship with Julaybib radiyallahu anhu. This was in the time before Islam. And subhanallah, they say that Julaybib, he would walk in the outskirts. He would walk in the outskirts of the city. And many times he would be like talking to himself in tears, crying. No family who would look after him. No friends who would be there to check up on him. He was completely isolated, all by himself. Small, deformed human being who did not look nice, and everybody just ridiculed him and made fun of him. This was the life of Julaybib radiyallahu anhu. That's what type of human being he was. And it is mentioned that when the Prophet ﷺ came and delivered the message, Julaybib radiyallahu anhu, he started sitting in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we all know the warmth and the comfort and the love that the Prophet ﷺ would show people. Julaybib was always sitting there because he never experienced this type of love that the Prophet ﷺ would show people. Yes, you're deformed. Yes, your physical features are not that nice. But guess what? I love you because you're a good person. I love you because your soul is beloved to me. Allahu Akbar. And then it is mentioned when the Prophet ﷺ, one day he called him and he said, "Oh Julaybib, tell me, is there something that you desire? Is there something that I can do for you?" And subhanallah, Julaybib, look at his love that he had for the Prophet ﷺ. He said, "Oh Rasulullah, Allah has blessed me with your company. Allah has blessed me to sit with you. Allah has blessed me to look at your beautiful face. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Is there anything else that I could desire? What else could I want?" Subhanallah. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him an indication. And he said, "Oh Julaybib, I think you should get married. Don't you think it's time for marriage for you?" And Julaybib, he's thinking to himself, who's going to marry me? I'm the ridiculed guy of the city. I'm the guy that nobody wants to talk to. I'm the guy, people used to take oaths. Brothers and sisters, he was so ridiculed. People would take oaths that I better not see Julaybib around my house. Because if I see him and my eyes fall on, na'udhu billah, that ugly human being, that ugly thing, and it's going to cause taklif to my eyes, I'm going to punish him. I'm going to beat him up. I better not see him around my house. That's how people would treat this man. Look at how the Prophet ﷺ showed him love. Look at how the Prophet ﷺ uplifted his spirits. He said, "Oh Julaybib, it's time for you to get married." He said, "Ya Rasulullah, inni kasid." He said, "Oh Messenger of Allah, I am bankrupt. I'm a man, I have no wealth. I'm a man, I have nothing in this dunya." Look at what the Prophet ﷺ said. "Lasta inda Allahi kasid. Lakinnaka lasta inda Allahi kasid." Subhanallah. Oh, kama qala alayhi salatu wassalam. Julaybib said, "I'm bankrupt, I have nothing." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "However, in the court of Allah, you are not bankrupt, you have a lot. You have a lot. Your character, your soul, your deeds. You're a person, you have a lot, you just don't know. People may think you're bankrupt, but in the eyes of Allah, you have acquired so much." And subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ takes Julaybib and he approaches a family of the Ansar. And the Prophet ﷺ asked the father, he said, "Is your daughter married and is she interested in marriage?" They got so happy because guess what they're thinking? The Prophet ﷺ is going to propose to my daughter. And the daughter is thinking, Ya Allah, what an honor. The Prophet ﷺ is going to propose to me. He says, my daughter's not married. She's perfect age, perfect. Everything is ready for her marriage. They're thinking the Prophet ﷺ is going to propose. And then they hear the news. Prophet ﷺ said, I didn't come for myself. I came for a special, very special man. His name is Julaybib. They said, Ya Allah, Julaybib? Oh my God. What have we got ourselves into? Subhanallah. Look at the piety of these people. She said, if Julaybib is coming on the recommendation of the Prophet ﷺ, if the Prophet is recommending Julaybib, there is khayr in Julaybib. I will accept this marriage. Allahu Akbar. Look how the Prophet ﷺ facilitates all of this. Look how he takes him by the hand. He finds the suitable spouse. He facilitates the marriage. Initially they thought it was for him, for the Prophet ﷺ, but it was for Julaybib. See how the Prophet loved him and cared for him so much. Why? What was his love based on? What was his mutual respect based on? It wasn't because of his money or his social standing. It was all just genuine love for what a good person Julaybib radiallahu anhu was. Julaybib radiallahu anhu, after that, the battles took place. And in one of these battles, Julaybib radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ told the companions, go and see, is there anybody missing? So they said, we're missing so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And then again the Prophet ﷺ, he said, go and search again, who are we missing? They said, we're missing fulan, fulan, fulan. They didn't mention Julaybib. Because he was always that person, people didn't really think about him. People didn't really notice him if he's missing in a gathering. Allahu Akbar, but the Prophet ﷺ noticed that he was missing. Brothers and sisters, this is what matters most. It doesn't matter what people think of us in this dunya. It matters what Allah thinks of us. Imagine, people can feel that you're missing. What are the people going to do? Look at this man. The Prophet ﷺ feels and notices that his presence is missing. He said, I don't see Julaybib here. Go back, look amongst the people, find where is Julaybib. And subhanallah, they went in the midst of the battle, and what did they see amongst the martyrs? They saw Julaybib's body, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He became shaheed. And in the vicinity, in the midst surrounding Julaybib radiyallahu anhu, there were 7 disbelievers. Their bodies and their corpse were lying all around Julaybib radiyallahu anhu. Before he passed away as a shaheed, he finished off 7 of the disbelievers. He finished off seven of them before he gave his own life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the Prophet ﷺ saw this, what did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say? أَنَا مِنْهُ وَهُوَ مِنِّي. I am from him and he is from me. I am from him and he is from me. This is how much he loved Julaybib. That Julaybib is part of me and I am part of Julaybib. We are together, we are one and of the same. This is what it means to have a bond of the soul, brothers and sisters. This is what it means when from the time where we were in the realm of souls, you had love and affinity for one another. The Prophet ﷺ taught us to have this true love. Inshallah, we will continue more tomorrow. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He opens our eyes to understand what is true value, what should we be valuing, what should we look for when we think something is great, when we think ourselves as great, when we want to achieve success within ourselves. What are the things that we should really be looking at? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the right perspectives. وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. جَزَاكُمُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا.